10 years ago, if somebody had said, hey, Asa Hutchinson, you're going to be governor of Arkansas, and you're going to veto a bill that would have protected children from chemical castration, what do you think you would have said?
Well, just like I said today, if you're talking about a reassignment surgery, I would have signed that bill in a minute. But whenever you're talking about maybe less than 200 kids in Arkansas that's currently on hormone treatment, and they are immediately cut off without having a grandfather clause in this legislation, I don't think that's treating those kids or their parents or their health care providers fairly or equally.
What the heck is going on with some of these GOP folks right now? That was Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson getting grilled by Fox News host Tucker Carlson last night after he vetoed a bill that would ban transgender surgery and hormone therapy for anyone under the age of 18. The veto was later overturned by the Arkansas state legislature. He's not the first Republican governor to buckle in the face of laws that would protect young people from transgender ideology. Last month, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem came under fire from conservatives, including me, after she killed a bill that would ban biological males from competing in biological women's, or just men and women's rather, sports, a move that she had previously supported. So what is it with this issue in particular that causes otherwise weak conservative governors to go weak in the knees, or strong conservative governors rather, to go weak in the knees? We got to look at that in the Buck Brief. Seems pretty straightforward, right? You're a Republican governor in a Republican majority state, and you have a bill to sign that you've been talking about for a while that the Republican legislature in your state has written and already passed. Pretty straightforward, right? There shouldn't be some last-minute shock or surprise, but that seems to keep happening. It happened with Kristi Noem in South Dakota, and now the conservative base has largely turned away and said, okay, so she's not a serious national-level political figure. You know, just was a little bit of flash, a little bit of a, of a moment in time, but no, doesn't have it. Doesn't have what it takes. Not real, not in this fight. So she's done, it seems, at least at the national level. She'll continue to be governor of South Dakota, but South Dakota has a population that's about the same as San Jose, California, so take that for what it's worth. And then there's Arkansas. Governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Now, he had a very straightforward thing to do here as well, where he would have signed a bill that had already been passed through the state legislature in Arkansas that would have said that if you're a child, remember, we protect children from all kinds of things. Children are protected via drinking laws, age of consent laws, they can't vote. There's all these different rules that we have in place as society for kids. And this bill would have said, look, you can't give an adolescent or a teen or a preteen gender-blocking drugs, or rather hormone-blocking drugs to try to halt their gender transition, or rather halt their gender affirmation, or it's tough to even keep this straight. Stop them from being the gender they were born with and try to transition into something else. Very straightforward. Asa Hutchinson went on Tucker Carlson's show in an act of political self-immolation and decided that it was a moment in time for him to explain how this is about being a limited government conservative. Are you now protecting kids from unproven and clearly highly politicized medical procedures that'll have a lasting impact on their lives and is almost always based on the research, which Tucker was pointing out last night, deleterious to their mental and often physical health? Not willing to do that, not willing to protect kids? Why? Well, Tucker posed this question, which I think struck a little too close to home for Mr. Hutchinson of Arkansas.
My question is, have you spoken to any of the biggest employers, the big companies in Arkansas, about this? Have you taken any calls from Tyson's, from Dillard, from Walmart? Has anyone from those companies called you about this bill?
No.
I just want to clarify very quickly. Have you, and I just want to be clear on this, have you spoken to any corporate interest in the state of Arkansas about this bill?
Tucker, I answered that. I answered that question, and I said, no, I have not.
Yeah, I don't believe him. Well, to be the first politician in history to lie, right? All of a sudden, this guy takes this action. Why would he do that? He's got to know that the conservative base in his own state and all across the country is going to be outraged. It's just a common sense thing, too. Are you a woke leftist? I mean, do you really think that 12-year-olds should take puberty-blocking drugs? The same drugs that they will give to adult criminals to chemically castrate them. You think they should give those to 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds in the state of Arkansas? You already said there are a couple of hundred who are, this is a real thing that happens, who are receiving some form of gender, they call it gender affirmation, it used to be gender transition. Look at the Orwellian language changes here. You think that they might have an issue with that in corporate America? Why else would he decide to upset his own base? Well, here's a statement that was signed by dozens of the wealthiest, most influential, powerful corporations. These are companies that write big checks to politicians, to PACs, to political causes, and employ a lot of people as well in states like Arkansas. Here's the statement that was put out. We are deeply concerned by the bills being introduced in state houses across the country that single out LGBTQ individuals, many specifically targeting transgender youth, for exclusion or differential treatment. We call for public leaders to abandon or oppose efforts to enact this type of discriminatory legislation and ensure fairness for all Americans. Preventing people from taking dangerous, damaging drugs is not something that is discrimination. It's meant to protect people from what is both a moral panic and a current trend of the left, which the research, which you can actually look into if you're curious, will show you has gone up about 2,000% in the last 10 years. That's right, 2,000%. That seems pretty substantial, doesn't it? When you have that much of an increase in transgender youth, maybe something else is at work here. Maybe there's some societal pressure from adults who want to be woke more than this is really what is best for children or even naturally occurring among children. But look at all the companies that sign on to this. Google, Amazon, Apple, AT&T, Facebook, Hilton, Verizon, Lyft, Uber, Pfizer, PayPal, and that's just the beginning, folks. I mean, you are talking about enormous market capitalization just with what you saw on the screen there. I mean, Amazon's basically $1 trillion company. You got these other companies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. It's a lot of muscle to push around in politics. So we're supposed to believe that people like Hutchinson and Noem, who, what's their next stop after being governor of their small population states? Do they want to be on the board of some company? Do they want to be in good with the donor class? Otherwise, why sell out the base? That's really where we are on this.